Hello. Um, I've been off work for the last almost 4 weeks. Actually, I think it's 4 weeks today. Um, and it's been nice not working. Um, it's kind of allowed me to kind of disconnect from thinking about work stuff and work people. And at the same time, I didn't really get much done in this in this month, 4 weeks. And because my wife has been away, and so the reason I took the month off was so I could do what was necessary to look after my son, drop him off at school, pick him up. If I was working, I either work early shift or late shift, and I either wouldn't be able to pick him up or drop him off, one of those, and so it would have been too hard to do by myself or with my parents or my sister helping out, which would have been too much, and so I took the time off, and I was planning to do more in this time, but I didn't. I was planning to look at more secondhand shops. I actually did look at a decent amount of secondhand shops, but the thing is, there's been nothing. I've been so I'm not even gonna count them up, but a decent amount of places or different parts of the city, and I found a handful. No, less. I can't even think. This one I'm about to show you, and the sneaker prints I showed last week, which was at a market, wasn't even at a shop. Was there anything else I've got? I don't think I've got anything else. And that's kind of really indicative of the state of looking in secondhand shops for CDs now. It's like it's really dropped off the quality, the amount of stuff available. It's so easy to see that stuff has just been picked through. Oh, I showed those two other ones recently. The Angelo DeAngelis and the what was the other one? Geez, there was another one. I can't even think what it was. Anyway, those two other ones. So I did find those. That was kind of early on in the piece, like the first week. But yeah, it's so easy to see that there are people who just go through the shops and pick out anything they think will make money, like locusts, and leave stacks of shite. And so it makes the whole process of going to those places even worse than it was. Because it used to be, I used to talk about how I didn't really like going in them because I just sometimes don't like the atmosphere and other things. But now you go there and you're just going there for no reason because there's never anything there. The other thing is, in the first week my wife is away, we're actually going through the house buying process at the moment. Or we finished it now. Well, not finished it. We've done all the main parts. We're just waiting to move in. But the first week when she was away, I was tidying up all the pieces that we needed to get done. And that was very stressful and time consuming. And halfway through the second week, everything was done. I was so happy that we had to get like a building report done. We had to get a valuation. This all costs hundreds and thousands of dollars. It's not a cheap bloody thing to do. A limb report from the council, all other things. And you've got very kind of limited time to do it, and it's really stressful. And the thing is, if any of those things come back not right, then it can cause a lot of drama. You have to kind of renegotiate with the seller, or you have to kind of walk away from the sale, and you've just spent thousands of dollars on lawyers' fees and other reports that and we went through that earlier this year. We made an offer on a house. I should say a house, like a unit. Can't actually afford a big house, like a normal standalone house, but we made an offer and went through all the process, got the limb report, like an urgent one of those cost $500 and some. Got all the other things, hired a lawyer to go through the documents, went to the bank, got bank approval, mortgage, and then got a builder's report. And the builder's report came back with it was an old place, it was like from the 1960s, so we expected it would have issues, but it came back with two big issues. Lots of little small issues that I was expecting and weren't, they could be dealt with, but two big issues. And the seller was not willing to remediate those. He offered to kind of take 10,000 off the asking price, off the offer price, which is fine, but that doesn't fix the problems, because you don't have that $10,000 in your hand. That's just $10,000 off your mortgage, which is great. It's better than nothing. But if you got one of the problems was a leak in the bathroom, and to investigate and possibly fix a leak could be anywhere from a couple of $100 to thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars if it's done major damage to the flooring and the walls and stuff. So he wasn't willing to investigate it. He was just basically, well, I'll give you a discount and it's up to you. It's like, no, I can't take that risk. And then there was other issues, which is another thing, which was actually even bigger than that, and he just didn't want to hear a bar of it. So we had to leave it. Just like, okay, well, we're not buying it. And so we were in the conditional period, so the lawyer could get us out of it, no problems, because the conditions had not been met. The building report was not satisfactory. But the problem is that you've just spent, well over $1,000, probably close to $2,000 on things that you can't get back. And so it makes you really gun shy of making an offer again unless you're 100% sure. And then very, very stressful. Anyway, it was all sorted within halfway through the second week of my holiday. And so that was just such a massive weight off my shoulders. And for a couple of days I felt kind of like walking on air, or whatever you want to call it. So relieved, and just like that, not even that, oh, we've got a house or anything like that, just the fact that, like, oh, we've spent all this money and it wasn't just pissing against the wall. It was, everything's worked out all right. And then, as I always do, I find something else to focus and stress about. I can't remember what it was after that. Some pointless shit. Oh no, that's, yeah, anyway, get into personal stuff, but it's, and then I was just, like, what else did I have? My son has his own kind of things. It seemed like, when you got a kid, there's always little bits and pieces. Like the Christmas season's coming up. So they had a Christmas market last week at one of the schools, and his school was invited to sing at that choir. The choir was to perform, and he's in the little kids' choir. It's a bit early for that though. It's like November 14th, and you think, doesn't feel very Christmassy. But anyway, so I had to go along to that, and that was a few hours, and then he's got his other sports and stuff he does during the week. It takes hours up. Then went to Opeth, which I talked about last week. And just, I've been sleeping a lot. I guess that's kind of been the main thing I'm doing, is just really resting and sleeping, because I'm a shift worker. And you go through the whole year of working, and shift work smashes you without even really knowing it. And so then you get to time to kind of rest, and it's just your body's like, okay, bleh, and you just sleep. And I can't sleep a lot at night because my son wakes up early. I've got to get him ready for school, but I just been sleeping. And now I'm going back to work on Tuesday. Today it's Friday afternoon. My wife gets back on Monday morning. I go back to work on Tuesday afternoon. And so I feel physically, at least, I've kind of recovered some energy. And but the good thing is, it's just I've got about a month of work once I go back, and then we get the Christmas break. So I have another 2 or 3 weeks off around Christmas, New Year. So that's great as well. So yeah. All this leading to last week, one of the things I did do is I went over to the city, to Real Groovy Records, which is the main physical music shop in Auckland, one of the last main ones remaining, probably the biggest one that we have. Sells all kinds of physical media, mostly records, CDs as well, DVDs, Blu-rays. I was actually thinking when I was there, and thinking the other day when I was in another secondhand shop, if you're a collector of DVDs and Blu-rays, it is your time in the sun, because so many of them everywhere, DVDs and Blu-rays. And there isn't the same, they're not as sought after as music. photo, and I'm sure that will change. Just like about 5 years ago, between the last 5-10 years, about the mid 2000s to about 2022, it felt like no one gave a shit about CDs, and people were to get rid of them, and you were finding like 50 cents and $1 as the maximum price. And even at the big shops, you were finding like $1 sales of really good stuff. That kind of turned in the mid 2020s. Whereas it seemed like for some reason people thought, oh, there is some value. Not a lot of value, but some value. And so now you go around the secondhand shops, they're picked over. The bigger shops don't have those $1 sales anymore, like Real Groovy. And I've just noticed it's like this change. It's like people realize there is a small collector market out there for CDs, and so you're not finding what you did. But DVDs and Blu-rays still seem to be under the radar, because I guess just a lot of people don't want them, and they're still kind of getting rid of them. Because remember in the 2000s, it was common to have buy a collection of DVDs of movies you liked and TV series and stuff like that. And so people were kind of going through the period now of getting rid of them. And so just stacks and stacks and stacks of them. At Real Groovy Records, the section that used to be dedicated to CDs, along the walls, the secondhand CDs, now it's all DVDs and Blu-rays. They got more than they can know what to do with. And so if you're like a movie collector, you could find some really, really, really good stuff. And the thing is that, I used to be much more into movies than I am nowadays. And I kind of considered myself a movie connoisseur to an extent, in a kind of a pretentious, in your mid-20s type way. And I used to go to like film festivals and watch obscure French movies and shit like that. And so what was my point? If you kind of wanted to, you could search those ones out, because I was kind of just looked over them as I was walking past them, and there was stuff there I didn't expect, like it's a Japanese director, Ozu, who did like a Tokyo Story and was it Autumn? They did some ones with the season in the title, and he's kind of considered a major influence and kind of innovator of different camera shots and storytelling devices and stuff like that. He kind of did post-war Japanese movies, and I saw it was a whole collection of his stuff. And 20 years ago, to buy one of his DVDs would have been like $40, $50. They were kind of collector items that you had to get imported or something. And it's all like stacks of them for $1. And you think, fuck, if you're like that kind of person, you could build such a phenomenal physical movie collection. That's right, my point is that because of the nature of it, how movies are distributed nowadays with streaming services, I don't know what it's like in your country. Well, I do, because it's probably exactly the same. There's Netflix, which is the big one, but they don't have all the movies you want to watch. They actually have quite a shit, in New Zealand they've got quite a shit selection. Especially of kind of more like stuff 70s, 80s, 90s era. Then there's other stream like Amazon Prime, and there's the Apple TV and Disney Plus. But then the thing is that you're subscribing to each of those services, and it gets bloody expensive. So by the time you have access to all these different selections of movies, and I think Criterion has their own one. Your Criterion collection is kind of famous for those kinds of art house type movies. I think they have their own streaming service, and there's another on Mubi, M-U-B-I. They kind of focus on those kind of art house movies as well. But then, by the time you're subscribed to get access to all these, you're paying a lot of money every month, and so trying to build a really great collection of DVDs or Blu-rays would be possible right now, I believe, at a very cheap price, just like I did with my CD collection 5 years ago. Those first 2 years, 2020, 2021, right around that COVID period, when I first came back to New Zealand, I just couldn't believe the shit. You'd go to a store, into a secondhand store, like a Salvation Army store, and you'd walk out with 20 CDs. Like, of all the kind of bands, all those kind of 90s bands that I was after, like Smashing Pumpkins and Alice in Chains and, you know, and in classic rock and stuff like that. And you'd be paying for 20 CDs, you'd be paying $10. Sometimes less, sometimes I'd have like 5 for $1 days, and things like that, just mental. Anyway, I went to getting to the point, I went to Real Groovy. They had fuck all. The secondhand CD section is smaller than ever. Smaller than ever. It used to be, it seems to wax and wane, but like I said, the section we used to have is now taken over by DVDs and Blu-rays. And the section where the second CDs is just tiny. There was really nothing that was interesting. They had a later Urge Overkill album. I think it's called Icon, maybe? Not, what's the one with Sister Havana on it? I can't think. It might actually be just called Urge Overkill, my self-titled. But anyway, they had that there, and it was $8 or something. And I thought, well, I don't like Urge Overkill enough to spend $8. Tonic, a band that was kind of a great illustration and, sorry, I'm taking a sip of water, an example of that late 90s, what would you really call it? Maybe you could call it post-grunge, though I wouldn't really call them post-grunge. They have more of a just pop rock feel to them. Whereas when I think of post-grunge, I think of more of bands like Creed and Nickelback and Puddles of Mud and stuff like that, or Puddle of Mud. That kind of do that, especially that kind of voice, the Eddie Vedder, Lane Staley type. Whereas these guys didn't do that, and they had much catchier and lighter songs. And the 3 songs that I guess most people will be familiar with, if they are familiar with Tonic, are If You Could Only See. If you could only see the way she loves me, maybe you'd understand why I feel this way about our love and what I must do. That and Open Up Your Eyes, which is a great song. And the third one, oh, it's from the movie, from American Pie. What the hell is it called? And he's, You Wanted More. I was just about to. You Wanted More. In the video, he's working in a school as a janitor, and he's waxing the floors with the kind of waxing machine. Those are the 3 biggest songs, and I'm sure they've got other ones that I'm forgetting, but those are the 3 that certainly come to mind for me. That first album of theirs that came out in '96 was called, I think, The Lemon Parade or something like that. Hang on, I'm looking. Yes, Lemon Parade. Came out in '96. And I guess that probably went around gold or maybe platinum. There we go. Okay, it went platinum in the US, 1.3 million in the US. And that had songs, Open Up Your Eyes, If You Could Only See, Lemon Parade. And then they did Sugar in '99, and that had You Wanted More. See if there's any other singles on that, maybe not. No, maybe. And they don't say the certificate, so maybe that didn't sell as well. So their peak of, what do you call it, you know, popularity or kind of notoriety was in that 97, 98, stretching into 99 era, where you would hear them on the radio. You probably saw them on music TV if you had music TV, and they were featured in films such as American Pie. American Pie was a pretty huge film, at least for young people in that era. Would have been 99, I think, American Pie came out. But I always love those first 2 songs, the Open Up Your Eyes and If You Could Only See. And one of the reasons, not the reasons, but one of the memories I have of the first time we were hearing them is that I used to work in a supermarket when I was a teenager. And I started working there in 1997. So this would have been probably 1997. And they used to play music over the PA. And they played a really interesting selection of music. Kind of current and classic, you know, older songs, but also, and songs that they would play every day. You would hear them over and over again. Like that song, remember that song, How Can I Live? I think it's Leanne Rimes. How can I live without you? That one. I think it's from the movie. I don't remember. It's in the movie soundtrack. I can't remember which movie it is. They would play that song twice a day, at least every day. And even now when I hear that song, it reminds me of working in a supermarket. But then other times you'd hear a song pop up and you'd never hear it again. Like I remember I heard the Nirvana Unplugged Man Who Sold the World once. Just once. And Beck, Where It's At, that popped up once. But one song that they would hear from time to time was If You Could Only See the Way, or If You Could Only See, from Lemon Parade. And I love that song. It was like, it's got kind of this melancholiness, this kind of darkness to it, a kind of sadness. You can kind of understand what he's singing about. I read an interview, he says he was dating an older woman, and all his family, like, they were unhappy about that, and his feeling was, well, you don't understand, man. If you could only see the way she loves me, then maybe you'd understand. And so I always had a kind of soft spot for Tonic. And then the video for Open Up Your Eyes is quite very kind of late 90s feel. Kind of has that kind of very vibrant color that they use in a lot of videos in the 90s. Like the video for All Star by Smash Mouth, kind of a similar color palette. Well, the band are on roller skates. They're roller skating around some kind of suburban subdivision housing development around the roads, and wearing these tuxedo t-shirts, and kind of, it's not really any story to it, I don't think, but it's there's one particular funny part during the guitar solo. The band get in a line and do like kind of a dance routine, like roller skate dancing, but they obviously didn't have a super high budget, because obviously the guys doing the roller skate dances aren't actually the band. They're like stunt doubles, guys who actually can roller skate dance. But you can so easily see it's not them. Like, they try to make it so they kind of have similar hair. I think one of the guys is black. None of the members of Tonic are black. And the other guy, they put like a wig on him, but they try to hide it. So it's not as though like it's funny, like, haha, this isn't us. They're trying to pull it off like it is them, but at the same time, they know you know it's not. If you know what I mean. It's kind of like half in, half out of the joke. But my son really likes that video, because sometimes I'll play music around the home and on my tablet, and whenever that video comes on, he wants to watch it. 23 minutes in, I get to the actual CD I'm talking about. I found this there. Tonic, Head On Straight, from the year 2002. Their time in the sun had waned, and they certainly were not as popular in 2002 as they had been, 4 or 5 years earlier, and they were never that popular to begin with. But this is on Universal, so it's a major label release, and it's produced by Mr. Bob Rock and mixed by Randy Staub. Staub, don't know how to pronounce his name, but those two guys worked on the Metallica albums in the 90s. Bob Rock obviously famously produced the Black Album, which was the Metallica Black breakthrough. It was massive, sold tens of millions of albums, and also did Load and Reload, the Garage Days Revisited, whatever thing that is, EP. Is it an EP? I'm not sure. And then maybe infamously, Saint Anger. And after that, they went. Who did Death? I think Rick Rubin. Did Rick Rubin do Death Magnetic? I think he did. Which is probably why the production doesn't sound great, because Rick Rubin does not actually produce albums. he listens to them and gives a few sentences of feedback. Melissa lies on the couch and goes, I'm not feeling that one, man. I don't think he's ever actually moved a fader or a knob on a mixing desk in his life. Randy Staub, you probably recognize if you saw him, because he's often in those Metallica studio videos from the 90s, because he's kind of like Bob Rock's assistant almost, like they kind of worked as a partnership. Assistant's probably not fair. But they worked as a team. And so it's kind of a big name to have on an album release. It'd be interesting to know what the expectations were for this from the band and the record label. I've listened through to this twice in the week since I bought it, and it's not bad, but it's also not great. Nothing stands out to me in the way that anything hooky that you would hear on Lemon Parade. It seems they're going for a slightly harder edge, maybe. There's one song that's Irish. It's like a I don't know how you describe it, a traditional Irish type folk song. Although not folk song's not right. But it's like he puts on an accent and stuff and sings in it. It just sounds a bit naff to me. There might be actually one or two songs that I would need to listen to it more. But it my initial reaction and feeling is that it's not great. And I can see why it pretty much did nothing for them commercially or critically. It seemed to kind of just pass and do nothing. It was also their last major label release. I think Universal released them after this. So they say the genre for this is post-grunge. And it does maybe have more of a post-grunge feel than Sugar and Lemon Parade. So, Jesus Christ. Said the album had sold 34 copies as of February 2003. So it was released in September 2002. So in 6 months it sold 34,000 copies, which in the early 2000s on a major label release is not good. Like I would be surprised if that got to 250,000 by now. So yeah, they didn't release another album after this until 2010, the self-titled Tonic, which was put out, I would guess, independently. Put out 429. What's 429? Yeah, just some small little thing, I think. But yeah, it really didn't do much. And yeah, it's you can hear that when you play it. You think, well, where's the hooks? Where's the kind of nice pop sound that you did so well? That kind of got you to the party. In saying that, it says it was nominated for Best Rock Album at the 45th Grammy Awards, and the track Take Me As I Am was nominated for the Best Rock Vocal Performance. I assume it didn't win any of those because it doesn't say that, did it? It got 3 out of 5 in Rolling Stone, which I guess, yeah, probably fair. But to me, a 3 out of 5 album is kind of like, meh. Album received moderate to good critical reception with music review site. Tonic's amazing musicianship and incredible lyrics still shine through strong. Yeah, not much else beyond that. One interesting thing is that I'm pretty sure this band, Tonic, have had the same 3 members pretty much throughout the entire, not the entire, but certainly since Lemon Parade. Those 3 guys have been the 3 in the band. Now, I should say, didn't I say it? Green Dot Special. Now I say this, that those color special stickers seem to change regularly. On the day I went, Green Dot Special was $1. If this was over $4, I wouldn't have bought it. But it wasn't, it was $1. And I felt actually a little bit embarrassed just taking a $1 CD up, only one of them, to the counter. So I was actually kind of quite desperately looking for anything else to buy. Even from the more expensive stuff that's not in the secondhand section, in the kind of news section. But everything is, I think their pricing is not great at that place. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I got. The condition is decent. The case is not cracked. It has got some kind of residue from stickers being taken off, but who would care about that? It's got one of those early 2000s strengthened jewel case hubs where they don't break off as easily because there's a kind of a central spoke to strengthen it. The CD is unscratched, and like I say, whenever I buy something in Real Groovy, is that one of the benefits of buying there is that you're guaranteed of a decent condition. Is that they don't buy secondhand stock that's completely scratched to buggery or really in bad condition. And I think they have the ultrasonic cleaner there, so they can kind of refurbish the disc to a certain extent. The booklet's fine, and there we have the liner notes. So Emerson Hart, he's the main vocalist and I think main songwriter as well of the band. Joey Waronker played some drums. He's not the drummer, but he played some drums. Lenny Castro, I've heard him before. He comes up a lot in the yacht rock world. He's held onto that hairline heroically because in 1996, 97, in the videos you see there, it was, I'd say even further back. But it's kind of, he's developed the hairline and has held the line so that 5 years later he's not showing any more baldness. So well done, Emerson. And yeah, that's it. Half an hour of speaking utter shite. But we'll leave it there because it's almost 2 o'clock, which means I've got to start going out and go pick up my son. But yeah, thank you for watching.